Hey everybody, it's video blog time. Don't adjust your video settings or whatever you want to call it. This is just audio, and of course that handsome pic of me. But I want to do it like this. Not always, but for the most part, I kind of like this audio and just the picture because I don't know. I feel like I can get the video blogs out faster. I could put more content out there, and it kind of has more of a podcast kind of feel, which I like. I will still, label them as video blogs. So yeah, today is Christmas Eve actually, and heading into 2019, gonna start playing live more. Album is out, and I can start focusing on playing live, full band and acoustic, both. So look out for that. And I got a new music video on the way for my song "New Glitter." And I'm working on that as we speak right now. So I wanted to originally get it out before 2019, but doesn't look like that's going to happen because I guess I'll give a little info here on that. Everyone has gotten a cold in my house, so it's kind of like everyone that I use to help me record the video and make this possible is, either was or now has a cold. So that definitely makes a difference. I'm not going to make anybody suffer to make a music video. So instead of in the next couple days, it'll be the next couple weeks that this video will be released. But I'm really excited for it because it's kind of it's kind of a continuation from the last video I made, drama from last year. So it's kind of something like that. And that's it. I'll say no more on that. So it'll be out in a couple weeks. Or maybe even a little less. It just depends when I can get the shots complete, and the editing should be pretty fast, but I don't want to rush it. So at the most a few weeks, 2 weeks. Let's see if there's anything else. I had an acoustic show lined up last week, and I wasn't able to do it. I had to cancel, unfortunately, due to a situation having to do with these colds, that are going around my house, and I wasn't able to make it to the show, unfortunately. But hopefully I'll make that show up very, very soon. So yeah, more shows on the way, and new music out. So it's been a good year when it comes to content. I think I had to stop with the YouTube content and the social network stuff for a little bit because I was making the new album, which takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of focused effort. And so the whole summer I was focused on that, and now I can get back to promoting. And speaking of promoting, that is the subject right now. And one of the things I want to do with these video blogs is I really want to focus on making them shorter and with better content within the time. If it's instead of 30 minutes, I'd like to make them 15 minutes with more, dynamite info if I'm able to, give dynamite info. So anyways, with that, I'll talking about promotion. There's many different ways to do promotion, and one of the things I will say right now is there is a lot of sponsored content. I mean, it's unreal how much sponsored content there is now. I mean, I think of Instagram, where if you scroll down like 3 or 4 videos, or your timeline, and people that you follow, it'll be like 3 or 4 posts before you get to a sponsored content. I mean, that's nothing. 3 or 4 posts, sponsored content, another 3 or 4 posts, more sponsored content, and it's insane. And like, it depends on what it is you like, who you're following, and what you like to look at on Instagram and Facebook. But they kind of feel that out, and then they kind of throw you what it is they think you want to see. So the sponsored content I get is a lot of bands, a lot of artists, and I think that's a lot of people a lot of the kind of people that are making sponsored content, because we feel that we can reach more people paying for ads and stuff like that. And you'll notice, I mean, even if you're not paying attention, you're going to run into it. You're going to run into so much content, more than you could ever do anything with, like you can't like that much music. There's just no way. But nevertheless, it's a tool, and you can't just not do it. I mean, you can not do it if everything's kind of going good for you and you're finding your audience without it. I mean, it's definitely possible, but it's a tool if you're not getting what you want and you kind of want to reach new people. So it's there. It's a tool. It's a tool to use. But because there's so much saturation and it's just so much, it begs the question of is bad promotion good promotion at the DIY level? because the industry, the music industry and movie industry and entertainment and art, like when you're promoting products, like it's always just been known. I mean, it's kind of really it's become more important, I think, in the last like 10 years of the music industry. And I'll give a quick reason why I think that is the case. If you live here in the U.S., and this is a worldwide thing, but let's just focus here on the U.S. About 300 million people. That's the number I always hear. 300 million people. Taylor Swift releases a new record. She sells about 1 million copies. That's digital, physical sales, records, cassettes, CDs. I mean, everything. She sells like, I guess, over 1 million in the first week, which is huge. Most artists do not do that. So that's like the top of the top, right? 1 million record sales, and there's over 300 million people, right? So you can do the math there a little bit. It's just a small fraction of people that buy her music, and we're talking about one of the biggest artists on the planet, right? So if you go down, in terms of how big an artist is, obviously it's less than that. And sometimes way less than that. So, you're always dealing with, you're not dealing with the majority, really, Now, labels release to the majority because the ads work that way, and they know how to, that's what they do. They release the music, and the majority of the country gets to look at these magazines, TV spots like the late shows, and everyone's going to get Taylor Swift obviously thrown at them, but only a certain amount of people bite. So it's the same thing if you're doing ads at the DIY level. But going back to the bad promotion, Taylor Swift may get into a relationship and they may break up and they may get bad press, and at some point you always hear them say, well, bad promotion is good promotion too. You're talking about her, right? You hear that with Kanye, you hear that with basically everybody that has that sort of press. And I think they like it, the industry, because when you see that pie, right, like, okay, only this small little slice here is the record sales. What about everything else, right? Because if you can get a reaction from the rest of the 300 million people, or let's call it 299 million people, then that's definitely productive in some way. It's traction. I mean, it's traffic for businesses, for ads that that want to have that Taylor Swift brand, want a little piece of that, it goes in all different directions. It's a big, just juggernaut of visibility. Any of these big artists are. So you want the people. It's like the Kardashians, right? I mean, it's they're involved in so many different companies, I think, and from fashion to TV to clothing lines to makeup to, you name it. I think some of them. I think the guy Rob does socks. I don't know if he's still doing that, but I mean they're all over the place, right? Apps on your phone. They're everywhere, and a lot of people hate them, and some people love them. So it's like they're hitting everybody, and I think that's the kind of the analogy I'm talking about when it comes to like the record industry. I think that's how they see it now. It's like, well, that's cool and dandy. You sold 20,000 records, but you have a lot of fans, they all love you, but who else can get involved with your career? Because that's not really enough to like make us think, oh, you're owning the world of music, right? You got to be on people's minds. People got to talk about you. And a lot of times, this is sad, but a lot of times people only talk about you when you're part of something stupid or some big clickbait news story, that's going around. The TMZ sort of thing. Like, if people can get a story in their heads, or people can a dinner table sort of discussion about a celebrity, you're thinking about them and you're making them bigger. That's just how it works now. So I can totally get the bad promotion is good promotion in the big world, Hollywood, the industry. But what about DIY, right? I think it's pretty much the same, but you got to wonder, like, well, if you're DIY, you don't have to please this big industry, right? You're just on your own. So it becomes like, well, it's an individual basis, right? What do you want? There's not this set of rules across the table here. It's your set of rules, and whoever works for you, because DIY can be you by yourself, or it could be you and a manager, or it could be you and four or five relatives that support you. I mean, your mom or your dad or whatever. It's you call the shots. So it becomes an individual basis here. Of course, going back to how saturated it is now, and the position you're in, because everyone has slightly different positions. Are you already doing well? Is your core audience there in your home area? If you're doing really well in your home base and you're from a big city, you may not need to go like, off the wall with your advertisements. Maybe that's enough, and that grows, and word of mouth is huge, and you don't really need that. Well, then, that's great. But if you're at a point where you don't have that core audience, and you're like, you don't play live a lot, but you have a lot of music and you want to get that out there, if you're in that place, then you're obviously going to want to be creative. Because sometimes, unfortunately, I wish this was the case. Unfortunately, throwing your album cover out there and saying, "Oh, so and so artist, listen to this song," even when it's spoon-fed like that on an ad, there's just so much out there that doesn't always cut it. It just doesn't always cut through the noise, and you're spending money on that, and it may not be worth it. So I think it's worth looking into, and when it comes to the bad promotion thing, there are two examples I'm going to give to just kind of let you think about. And I'm not going to name names. I don't need to do that. And I'll try to make this quick. The first example I ran into on Facebook. It was this dude that had a new song, and it was instantly eye-catching because the photo was just ridiculous, right? And I'm not judging, like, I don't really want to be harsh on this guy because, to be honest, I get it. He's trying, and I try too, and I'm sure I've missed the mark many times. But in this case, he obviously put a lot of money into it, because I would see the ad almost every single time I was on Facebook. And it was of a new song. He had a picture, and he was kind of like, he was dressed pretty crazy, right? Not too crazy, but it was just like a crazy jacket, and he had these chains on, and everything just kind of didn't go. It was just one of those things. Like, when you look at magazines and when you look at like big banners, that artwork that the big world of the industry creates, everything tends to always look good. Whether you like it or not, everything's got they have an artist that does that. Everyone does things individually. It's not like one guy's doing everything, So it tends to be good, when you're looking up at the big industry. And right here you get one guy who's probably doing most of it himself, or maybe going cheap, and you can see that, right? And there's ways of doing it cheap. There really is, actually, but it's once again, it's difficult. So right away I was like, oh man, the comments are going to be bad, because I saw that there was like 50 or 60 comments. I'm like, this is going to be a fun read. So I click in. Sure enough, nothing good. Everything is, you suck. They're being very harsh, and then I get it. Everything was wrong. Everything on the photo was kind of wrong. And you could say, well, Chris, this is music. Why are you being so harsh on a look? Well, because unfortunately, and fortunately, I happen to love style and fashion, and I enjoy it. So, but it is something. It is part of the branding. You don't even have to come out in your photos, but it needs to be part of your brand. People need to get that. It just depends. You run it how you want to run it. But in this case, I was like, all right, this is going to be fun. And sure enough, you suck. What are you wearing? Blah, blah, blah. It went on for a while. So I was like, poor guy, man. He lost money, and this is not good for him. I went and heard the song. It was bad, but the recording was pretty slick. Like, it wasn't bad on all angles. I can't say that it was, but it was bad, overall. So, anyways, a couple weeks later, I'm on Facebook again, and I see the ad again. This time around, I noticed something different. I noticed, while there's nothing positive still, there's a sense of people are having fun with this ad. Like, they're having fun bashing him, right? At this point, there's memes involved where people made memes kind of making fun of the post. And I'm like, well, okay, like, I can kind of see this turning somewhat a little bit. It's kind of like, that movie, The Room? If you never heard of The Room, it's like this movie that this guy made. I believe Tommy Wiseau is the name of the guy. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And he made this movie called The Room. It was so bad that it became a cult classic, and now it's been it hasn't been remade, but I mean, what's his name? James Franco made a movie. I believe it's him that made it, and I mean, it's huge. It was kind of based off of the ideas of Tommy's movie, The Room, and so it's made him a huge celebrity in that right. And it's one of those things. It was made. I think he thought he was making a great movie. It ended up being so bad that it became popular. And now I haven't heard in recent interviews, but I kind of remember that he was trying to spin that he meant to make it like that bad, and then that gets complicated. I don't think he did. At least that's my opinion. So in this case, I kind of see something like that happening. I'm like, well, it's kind of so cringy and so bad that people are having fun making fun of it. But in order for it to help the person, they have to actually start liking it. Even if they're liking it because they don't like it, if that makes any sense. It has to turn in order for this to be positive for him. So I go to his Spotify, and I'm like, whoa, that's a lot of plays. That's a lot of plays. Of course, granted, I don't know how much he spent on the ad. If he spent like $1,000 or something, then that's not worth it either. But let's just say he spent a decent amount. But I don't know. I can't put a figure. 600 listeners a month is not bad. Like for a DIY artist, that's really good if you can keep that going. But that's the key. You have to keep that going. And I'm like, well, people are going over because the ad is there and they want to hear what it sounds like. So granted, there's gonna be listeners. So, and long story, kind of long. In order for this to actually work for him in a DIY effort, the people have to stay. For whatever reason, I've seen people on YouTube that build followings because they're bad, but they're likable, and that ends up being the quality that people return for, because the person, while they may be not good at their craft, they're likable, and that's very important. Because it doesn't matter the reason why someone returns to your channel or project or product. It just matters that they keep on returning for whatever reason. So like this, in this case, he would have to keep them in maybe with new songs, and it has to get real at some point. And I don't see that working for this first example. Now, that's just my opinion, and you're probably wondering who this is, but I'm not going to name names because that's not important to me. It's just the idea of what I'm talking about that's important. And on to this next person. This person booked a whole tour overseas, right? This is the more famous story. This person booked a whole tour overseas, and nobody went to the shows because everything was fake. The advertisements were fake, showing fake crowds. I mean, real crowds that weren't his. And I guess he pumped a lot of money into it to where, everybody thought he was famous. The musicians he got, I think, thought he was famous. So he went over there, bombed, and all the club owners were mad. The bookers were mad because he fooled them, and I'm sure lost a lot of money. But then what happened was something that I'm sure he's thankful for, and I'm quite lucky for, because this could have been just a terrible thing, and it could have totally ruined him, I guess. The website started picking the story up, and that's the blessing right there of this example. The website started picking it up and saying what this person did, right? What he was doing, how it failed, and whatnot. So people started flocking to see what he's all about. They'd hear the music, and the difference between this guy and the first example, this guy has music. He has like an album, and it's more than one. It's more. Well, I guess the first guy has an EP, I guess. Anyway, so this person has like an album worth of songs, and I think musically it's probably better. I thought it was better. Different genres, but this is more in the rock. And from what I hear, if someone says, "Oh man, this guy so stupid. I mean, he did this, he did that. I want to go check this out." Then you go to the page and the Spotify and you listen to the songs and you're like, "Well, it's not bad, right?" I mean, some people can think it's bad, but I think for the most part, it's not bad enough to make people say, "Man, this guy stinks." If anything, it's probably the other way around. It's like, "Oh, it's not so bad." So now he's gotten the visibility because of this crazy effort, right? If you want to call it that. Once again, it comes down to, can he keep these people? Is he throwing out the product good enough to keep the people? That remains to be seen on both of these cases. Although I have a hunch that I know where I would, if I wanted to place a bet there, I would say no for the first one, and for this one I'm kind of not sure yet. But I suppose it's better to be where the second example is at now than before. That I will say that he's in a better place now than he was before, because of this crazy effort that some people would see as shameless and just dumb in general. But hey, you know what? It's a saturated world right now when it comes to entertainment. Nobody owes anybody anything. Everyone's just throwing stuff just way too much than you can ever do anything with. And I guess it takes a crazy effort, to get through. Now you could say, well, can't you just be really good? Yes, you can, but you gotta have other things to make that happen. Like, you can't just be crazy good, post a video on Instagram or Facebook and expect people to just be like, oh, you're crazy good. Like, there's got to be things that work with you already. Like, maybe you're a people person, so people like you already I'm going all the way down to your organic, say, personal Facebook, right? Because you see all kinds of people when it comes to your personal Facebook. Some people are really funny and nobody cares because maybe they don't have a lot of friends. Or maybe someone is not that funny and they have a lot of friends and you see like 400 likes. Like, that stuff is golden when it comes to starting a career off in anything. Like, do you have a lot of friends? Do people like you? Because if they do, and you release something that's even mediocre, you're going to get people support you. And that's way easier at the jumping point, at the starting point. Now, lots of artists that try really hard tend to alienate themselves to where they're only promoting themselves, and at a ground level, that can be seen as arrogant. It can be seen as what's that word? Narcissistic. And it's just the way it's the way entertainment and art is built. I mean, you're a creator, so you're creating these things, and you want people to accept them and to like them at some point. So in order to do that, you kind of have to be about yourself a lot. And when you're dealing with a personal Facebook, you're dealing with people that, it kind of goes all around a circle. You have to support them. They have to support you. And you can reach a point where you're talking too much about yourself. I'm very well aware of this, and it's a very hard balance. Especially if you're someone that being a people person or being very social doesn't come natural to. If you're someone that it doesn't come natural, you can have a lot to learn, because it's really helpful to be like that. You can be so far ahead of the game if you're just good at that. Okay, but some people are not good at that. And so that's a mountain you have to climb. So that falls into exactly what I'm talking about. To get creative, to just bypass the organic audience from your Facebook or from your real life life, or your real life friends. You may have to bypass that, because it's at a certain point, I really believe some people will turn you off. It's sad, but it's the truth. And there's worse things in the world. So it's more like they've turned you off, and you have to understand, all right, I cannot count on this anymore. I have to jump outside of my organic audience. Lots of artists are in that position. I've seen it left and right all over the place. Some people succeed very fast on their own to a certain point, and then they can't get past that. And some people can't get that organic audience, and they somehow, with enough effort, break through and get a massive audience. So it's anything can happen, but you have to be aware of your surroundings, is what I'm saying. So I would say, approaching the 25-minute mark here, that bad promotion is good promotion in DIY. I would say that. But I think the catch here is you have to know what fits in your world. Okay, you can't just run you just can't run aimlessly. You can't do things aimlessly. Unfortunately, while I can't stand the word branding when it comes to music, because I love music, it's so deep, it's so powerful, but branding is a word I expect to hear like a big businessman say. Well, if you want to make music a career, unfortunately, for the art of music, branding is involved. And I accept that, and I try to get an understanding of it. So it is important. You can't just throw that to the side. For some people, it happens more naturally than others, but you have to be aware of it. And I think that, in a nutshell, bad promotion can work for you if it falls within your brand. And because that's the only way you're going to keep people. As cool as it might be to have a viral video somewhere that works for you and brings people in, if they're not eating up what it is you want them to eat up in your project, then it's still not working. See, so always remember that when you're putting those efforts out. I do this myself, and that's why I know this, because I've seen things that work, I've seen things that don't work, and I'm obviously a work in progress, and my main goal is to get people to hear my music, and everything I do is to work around that one thing. I don't want to release stuff that doesn't say this guy's an artist first and foremost, a music artist first and foremost. And I'm working on that. Sometimes I do things that maybe don't work for that, and I cut that out if I find that it doesn't work, you know? And granted, everything I do is something I want to do, because to me, that's you have to be genuine, I think. I believe so. So anyways, that's what I think. It has a place because, and when I say bad promotion, I really mean creative promotion. You know, something beyond just, oh, here's my album cover and these are my songs. Because even if you're great, if you don't have that organic audience, it's just not gonna have legs. It's not gonna have that people aren't gonna be attached to it unless they luckily click on it. And I click on stuff all the time on Instagram where I'm like, wow, that actually is good. And even I'll roll past it because it's just, there's so much. You know, so it's just a tool. It is a tool, and I just want to throw this out to say that does exist even in the DIY world. You can do that. You can get creative, and whatever that means for your project, you know, you have to make that decision. But it is there. It is there on the table. You can do more than just, hey, this is my album, you know, or this is my this or that, depending on what it is you do. So, anyways, hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to be doing the vlogs like this more often from now on with just the audio and the picture or whatever. And I'll do some like old school ones, which like where I'm actually in the video as well. But yeah, so hope everyone has a great Christmas, holiday. We're heading to 2019 and I'll be doing a wrap-up video vlog very soon as well. So yeah, new video coming in the next couple of weeks. Check out my new album. It's on Cris Music playlist here on the YouTube channel. Eat a lot of good food. And until next time, rock on.